Katana, Bludgeon, Zanbato, Short Sword, Lightsaber. The Blade Master, my pride and joy, my #1 main since day one, and we're talking about the Nexon days here. Other regions refer to them as Weapon Masters, which, in my opinion, sounds a lot cooler. And it makes more sense because bludgeons don't have blades, I guess. Sorry, Yang-ul. But then again, if they are Weapon Masters, then why couldn't they wield guns? Guns are weapons, right? And lances, and stabs, and bombs, and battle axes, and claws, and daggers, and oh, I don't know, bows? Have I made my point yet? That's okay. It'll probably be OP anyway. Imagine if they can double wield axes, or chuck lances, or they So why do I give them such high praise? What about Weapon Masters do I like them making my main? In DFO, a Blade Master is a subclass of the Male Slayer class. He's actually one of 5. They deal physical damage and are percent based, meaning their damage output scales off of physical attack, which is your primary stat, and strength as your secondary stat. Blade Masters are also close to mid-ranged, in some mobility, utility, and AoE in their skills. They may also look like your typical swordsman class, but they've got that samurai Jedi flavor to them. Also, did I mention that they can use 5 weapons? You got your heavy-hitting Zanbatos, your bone-crushing bludgeons, your not actually short-range short swords, your sharp and sleek katanas, and your weapons that were probably from a galaxy far, far away, lightsabers. Now where's his firearms license? I guess he doesn't need a gun with those firearms. Yo, what the? At the time when this video was uploaded, the level cap has moved up to 110. And so have you. Congratulations. Now what? Now, you become famous! No, not that kind of famous. With this new content, fame is now the name of the game. Global now has a universal metric to show a character's overall power. This is what Exorcism wanted to be. Most, if not all, the equipment now has fame in them. Gear, titles, avatars, talismans, even creatures. The reinforcement, amplification, and refinement values, as well as enchants on your gear, now also add fame. Now I did mention that fame used to show a character's overall power, but you can only get such a finite amount of fame, even with all this. And as such, content and difficulty levels that came with the 110 cap are gated by fame thresholds. Which begs the question, how do you increase fame? The answer is the option growth system, aka gear feeding. Simply put, you feed the epic gear you've looted from dungeons onto your equipped epic gear to increase fame. There will be cases where the material gear you've looted will have higher fame than your equipped gear, in which you'd want to transfer its fame and option levels to your own, or use the complete growth feature to completely use up the material gear for an even bigger boost in fame. Not all gear you loot will provide a large amount of fame. Sometimes, you'll even get a measly single-digit gain from option growth, and that's okay. It's often better to disassemble these low-fame material gear for some clear cube fragments, and especially power essence, which is a common currency when dealing with the option growth system. What's a brand new level cap without dungeons to run? With the 110 cap, you unlock 8 brand new dungeons, all of them sharing the same 10 scaling difficulty stages. Oh, where have I heard of that? You also unlock 3 advanced dungeons which share 3 difficulty stages. These normal and advanced dungeons give way to level 105 gear, which can then be equipped and fed via option growth. Higher fame will unlock higher difficulty stages, which will give access to higher fame epic gear. As you go stronger and scale up in fame, you'll eventually unlock Legion Raid and Warpath, and in the future months, this caps Apostle Raid, Bakal. Now, level 110 content may be the most relevant thing that you can do, but there's still some old content that's still very much relevant because of the rewards they provide. These include Talismans and Runes from Pandemonium War and Exile Mountains, buff enhancement gear from Operation Hope, and older raids which may provide you with some enchantment cards to use or sell. Do note, however, that while this content may be outdated, do exercise some awareness. Some content, such as the Fiend War, Pre-Metastasis, Sirocco, and Ozma raids, require some basic knowledge about the respective raids themselves. Bypassing gimmicks and patterns through sheer force without prior knowledge will endanger yourself and teammates, should you decide to join a raid party, so I highly recommend going through guide mode to help you out. Every other content can be run down pretty easily, most of the time. Before you start looting these brand new dungeons, you're gonna need a solid skill build. You may already have one to call your own, but if you're watching this, then you might be looking for a second opinion, some hot takes, or some tips and tricks that you might have not known and or heard of yet. And just like the epidermis, I've got your skeleton build covered. I have 2 variants, but let's cover the common skills between them. Let's start with passives. Learn Backstep Upgrade. This will let you use backstep with iframes when you're attacked or when you want to get out of the way but you're stuck in skill animation. Doesn't work on awakenings though. Max Weapon Wielder Zenith, as it gives you a 5-in-1 deal in maxing out all 5 weapon masteries through one passive. These masteries also lets you spice up your skills with weapon specific effects. Max Ultimate Slay Iron Strike, Hypervigilance, and State of Incorporeity. These are your awakening passives and give you some wonderful basic and skill attack buffs, as well as a plethora of unique effects to most of your skills. Learn and max Lightsaber License only if you're equipping lightsabers. If you're new, I highly recommend learning and equipping one. Learn Death Grip if you're into switching weapons, although they're not that practical since you'll need to reinforce and enchant more than one weapon. You can also learn Death Grip if you want to use the Drawsword Talisman too. More on that later. Put points sparingly on Focus Critical. I say this because 2 of your main buffs, Overdrive and Flowing Stance Force, gives you 15 and 14% additional physical crit chance at master level, which is the highest level you can increase a skill level through skill points. 29% is already plentiful, because it's not including the other crit chance sources you can obtain from your light armor mastery, the options on your epic equipment, your avatars, emblems, creature, and title, and any extra levels on overdrive and force that you might get. Speaking of buffs, max overdrive and force. Aside from them both giving you physical crit chance, overdrive also gives you basic and skill attack, while force gives you more damage on your flowing stance skills, and then lets you freely cancel from and into other stance skills. For your basic skills, learn Backstep, Secret Sword Art, and Flowing Stance to unlock the force buff. For your cube skills, or skills that also use clear cube fragments on top of their MP cost, max all of them, as well as their TP upgrades, except Shooting Star. We leave it at 1 for its iframe utility. We want to max all our awakening skills too. Since 3A requires us to link cooldowns with one awakening, we link it to the first awakening, since you can fit in 2 of their cooldowns worth before 3A is up and ready. Plus, the second awakening is a great install skill. For more utility, consider using Mountainous Wheel, Drive Slash, and Kazan in your gameplay. Mountainous Wheel has a super armor frame on its descent, and it also has iframes for a few seconds from animation recovery. Drive Slash is great for mobility, especially from one end of a room to another. And Kazan's a nice small AoE damage buff for you and your teammates. No need to put any more points on them, as their utility is effective at level 1. It's also by default. Now for the variations. One variation is Flowing Stance flavored, meaning we use the rest of the points in maxing out Rise and Swift for our damage dealers, as well as its TP upgrade. Clash can be your SP dump. The other variation is Charge flavored, as in we max Charge Burst and the rest onto Charge Crash. Max both their TP upgrades too. Leftover TP can go into basic training. You can also learn 1 level of Drive Slash upgrade for 2 additional slashes. More slashes, more mobility. Mobility? For my honorary mentions, we have Guard for manually tanking some hits with a bit of damage reduction, Leap for giving you airtime in jumping away from enemy attacks, Wave Wheel Slasher for iframe on grab, Backstep Cutter if you like bludgeons, and Aerial Chain Slash for aerial basic attacks, and also if you like bludgeons. I'll be sure to get more into detail on these skills in a separate video, because this one's already taking a while. Sorry! With a skill build ready to go, it's time to move on to some equipment. First up, we have Talismans. This special type of equipment enhances up to 3 select skills specific to us. They can completely change the look of the skill, boost its damage, give it better utility, or a combination. These talismans also come with 3 rune slots, which give various effects based on the color of the rune. Red gives higher damage and higher cooldown. Purple gives damage. Blue gives cooldown reduction. Green reduces damage and cooldown. And yellow increases the skill range. Each talisman has additional effects, which can only be activated when its specified colored rune slots are filled correctly. These talismans and runes are obtained as rewards from Pandemonium War, its lesser form, and Exile Mountains, the better form. Talismans come in 2 grades, Rare and Unique. Rare talismans provide simple boosts to the skill, whereas unique grades come with their own name and specialized effects. Runes come in 4 grades, from uncommon to unique. These just increase the levels of its effects, from lowest to highest respectively. Out of the 7 talismans, I recommend starting off with Drawsword and Raging Dragon Slash for 2 of the 3 slots. The Drawsword talisman provides some great quality of life with its preparation time reduced, its range and damage increased, and casting Death Grip, giving us extra attack and movement speed without having to switch weapons. Raging Dragon Slash talisman lets your twisters home in on your targets, so even if you miss your Raging Dragon Slash, the twisters won't. The third talisman can be up to you. Mind Sword increases its Y-axis range and its damage. Blade Dance Lightning provides more damage while automatically flipping your character to the other side upon casting another skill. And ISD provides a whopping 90% damage reduction during the skill, on top of its extra multi-hits and damage. There's 2 parts when it comes to runes. The first part is the skill. I recommend either Mind Sword, Blade Dance Lightning, or ISD, depending on which of their respective talismans you prefer to use. The second part are the rune colors. I recommend red, blue, and purple runes to maximize the DPS of your chosen skill. This color set also implies that the talismans you want to equip should also contain red, blue, and purple rune slots to activate the additional effects of their talismans. Here's an example talisman setup. Here we have Enchants. These green text enchantments provide characters with various stat boosts, ranging from strength to physical attack to elemental damage. These also provide a good amount of damage for us Blade Masters. You can obtain them from various merchants, as well as in the auction hall. Enchants come in two forms: cards and beads. Cards are the enchant base form most of the time. They drop as monster or raid loot, and from card albums sold by certain merchants or player merchants through the auction hall. Beware, once you purchase cards on your character, they become account bound to avoid resale. Another thing to keep in mind is that some cards have upgrade statuses. These statuses require card fodder of the same grade as upgrade material to reach its next upgrade. Be sure to keep an eye on them before you start upgrading so you don't miss out on its max potential. You can upgrade cards through a bellow in Arid's west coast. Cards need to be used by an enchanter to apply their enchantment onto your gear. Beads are easier to use than cards, even though cards can be converted into beads by enchanters. Beads are easily applicable and don't require an enchanter to use. Simply use the bead onto the applicable equipment slot, and it's there. Budget beads are also available for purchase with golden barrels as currency from Unit Leader Schmidt in North Peace's Herring Archipelago, and from Merrill in Sea of Twilight's destroyed Castle of the Dead entrance, both located in the Empyrean world. With that said, let's cover what enchants are best for each gear slot. Starting with elemental damage, this stat is sometimes a rare commodity in equipment gear, and as such, is a blessing to have. 22 elemental damage roughly translates to 10% extra damage when dealing a specific type of element, so of course we'll take what we can get. Seeing as we're a subclass with no inherent element to inflict, I highly recommend using a cube contract to apply one of 4 elements to all your attacks. Elemental damage is useless if you don't inflict an elemental attribute. Elemental damage enchants are the best type for weapons, accessories, and magic stone, and a lot more effective than physical attack. Single and dual elemental enchants for accessories usually yield higher values than their all elemental damage enchant counterparts, but for simplicity's sake and easy on the wallet, we want to go for all elemental damage. That way, you're flexible when it comes to inflicting specific elemental attributes where enemies and or dungeons are weak to specific elements. Second in tier, just below elemental damage, is physical attack. As I mentioned a couple minutes early into the video, Blade Masters are a percent-based physical damage dealer. You can tell by the percent values in his skill tooltips, as well as in character select screen when previewing the Blade Master subclass. Since elemental damage is only available on weapons, accessories, and magic stone, we'll enchant our top, bottom, and sub-equipped gear with physical attack. Bonus points if the enchant also comes with strength, but make sure you don't break the bank, unless you want to. Next up is crit chance, specifically physical crit chance. We want to maintain 100% critical chance at all times, so our damage consistently deals critical damage. And we want physical because, well, we deal physical damage. I mentioned earlier during the skills section that Blade Masters have a lot of physical crit chance just through buffs alone. If after the buffs, green emblems, avatars, titles, creature, and gear, that you're still missing crit chance, the head or shoulder, belt, and shoe slots are open to them. If you're already able to hit 100% crit without enchants, the strength stat is available as a runner-up. Most recently, we've gotten a special enchant for head shoulder that provides crit chance stats and skill attack. These will come at a price, since skill attack is a universally favored stat that boosts your damage multiplicatively the more you have of it. Lastly, we have enchants for earrings. Currently, the best available enchant for them are all stats, which is nice since we get to make use of strength for damage, vitality for HP and physical defense, and spirit for MP and magic defense. We have one honorable mention, and that would be titles. Usually when it comes to titles, when they come from avatar packages, they come with their own beads to enchant with. If you currently have a title with no enchants, a great option to top it off would be the Yellow Dragon's White Bijou Bead. It provides you with +3 all elemental damage. This bead, however, can be obtained as a purchasable item through Wu in Arid Suju. However, the currency used to purchase the bead is obtained as a reward by performing limited quests from June, who happens to also be in Suju. Specifically, Purple Magatamas. Happy grinding! That wraps up the first part of this Blade Master guide. I'll talk more about the Blade Master's buff enhancement gear, some beginner-friendly epic sets, and more on part 2. Stay sharp, and stay tuned for that. It's your boy Kaizen, saying so long, farewell, and goodbye for now. Until we meet again.